If
Yeah, man.
you had a crystal ball that could tell you anything about the future, your life, what would you want to know?
Man, I think if I had a crystal ball, man, I think what I would do is I would peer into the future of my daughters and just see if they're happy. And if there was any kind of information that I could glean, from if the result wasn't what I was looking for, if there was any kind of information I could glean from what changed that, that's the information I would want to know. Yeah, that's it. I think
That
that's
is
my
that
best
is
one.
awesome. That is an incredibly selfless answer. Right? Just to want to know, are your children happy? Right? I'm a girl dad. You know,
Yeah.
you're a dad. Like we love our kids, and that answer put a smile on my face. That is super cool. Hey, I am Tony Toich with Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter, and this is Motivated Realtor. We are sitting down today with Coach Marcus Heflin, an absolute force of energy. I can't wait to talk to this man. He's been my bold coach two times. In fact, he was the reason I took bold twice last year because I told him if he ever came back to Atlanta to teach again, I would be taking his class. And I was a man of my word. He is just incredibly good at what he does, good at motivating, great at teaching, great at being an agent, great at being a team leader. And I'm excited to sit down and have a conversation with him today. There's going to be a lot of energy here. So get ready, buckle up because things are going to get crazy.
My man.
What is up?
How are you, bub?
I'm good. How you doing?
We're good, man. Look at us, man. We got the little white and back play going, a little Mr. Smith.
I like the reference. I like the reference.
I
Um,
just love, man. I love, and it's a compliment. I love how you walk the walk where a lot of other people talk. You literally walk it, man. It's stuff like as basic as what is just literally framing it and putting it up like we always say. And people are like, yeah, I'm
mhm.
gonna do that, and they don't. I just love that
Yeah.
you do. So
Uh,
that is why I am here, sir. Because a lot of people are
uh,
this, and then they ask me to hang out. I'm like, nah.
that's awesome. So, I'm real excited. I'm incredibly grateful for your time today, sir. So, and I don't want to take up too much of it because I do know how busy you are. All right. I know you're coaching, you're an agent, and now you're not doing team leading, or what's going on with your change?
Yeah, man, got a cool opportunity through being a bowl coach. I went up and I asked a OP because he had at that time three market centers, and we were the largest bowl in the country at 178 agents. So it was like a really impressive showing from the leadership, top down. So I said, hey, I've got this aspiration to be an owner at one point. What advice would you give me? And he gave me one that I didn't see coming. He said, can you give me 2 weeks and I'll come back to you? I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're going to take this real serious. I appreciate that. So 2 weeks goes by. I go back up for bold and he pulls me aside and he says, hey, I've got about a 3 to 5 year window until I'm ready to retire and live in the south of Spain and do the whole thing. And he goes, I really see you as somebody that could take this company over the next 3 to 5 years, learn it the way, and let me hand it off and you take it to another echelon. So between that interview and then now today, when we moved to Connecticut, we're up here officially now, he acquired two more market centers. So it went from three to
Wow.
five. And now I get to learn from an amazing leader. Also get to learn a different aspect of the business and really talk numbers and the language of sales. But the most important part and the most intriguing part to me is that I see all these different departments and how they mesh, and yet they don't
Mhm.
always know how they mesh. And so, like making everything just very in sync. It's been fascinating so far.
Okay. And so now with that position, are you still in sales or do you refer that out to people?
Yeah, great question again. So I've got my real estate team in Nashville, and we're still selling there. I'm obviously not active in it as far as on the ground, and yet we have an expansion partnership. And it's called Constellation Homes. I'm a co-owner, so we're in two different areas of Louisiana. We're in Nashville and all surrounding areas, and then we'll be opening up three more locations in 2025.
Oh, that's awesome. And she driven, successful, getting a lot done. So absolutely, it's going to be worth listening to what Marcus has to say today. And I want to start off with something a little personal. Yeah, so let's talk about your business. Go getting from getting started to becoming a bowl coach, because becoming a bowl coach, there's what, four ways to become one, right?
Yeah. I think
Team leader.
mhm. So
Uh,
team leader, there's obviously already being a coach and just
mhm,
transitioning over. And yet I went the agent route. And at that
mhm,
time, what that meant was 75 units sold per year for 2 years. And then you could audition. But that being said, the entire career it started off with new home sales where I was just in one community at a time. Nashville has a ton of new construction. I got recruited to KW. Thank you again, Paul Teller, for changing my life. I came in my first year in real estate. I sold 72 homes. After that, I started my own team. He was gracious enough to part ways and be very culture forward moving with that. And from there, man, I had so many ups and downs, failing forward, figuring it out, learning that, man, I had to check my ego in some parts. And then other times I needed to bring that ego back. Right. So it's been so cool looking back on it. In the moment, I think I was so in the weeds like we sometimes get. And yet looking back on it, reflecting upon it, I have such a deep appreciation for the good days, the bad days, and learning lessons in between. So that was kind of the come up, but coming out the gate, I just it was just fun selling houses, man. I was given some really cool opportunities and a couple gifts from God, and we just applied it. And so being a part of the Bowl program has literally changed my career, life, mindset, marriage trajectory across the board. And I think one thing that comes from all of that is just the perspective of, if this hadn't happened, where would I be? And so I'm
mhm,
constantly in this daily grind. Like right now, I've got a new opportunity that came from Bold, right? And
mhm,
all my growth came from Bold. And I'm mentioning Bold in the form of I put myself into a system that was constantly pouring into my mindset and my future pacing growth. So if it's not bold for you, that's okay. Just what avenue are you taking to grow more, right? And if you stay
mhm.
in that grind over time, it's what is that saying? Time on task over time. If you just stay there and stay there and stay there and keep churning it out, good things come. So
Yeah.
that's where we are right now.
Absolutely. And so, you kind of actually, one of the things you talked about, you were failing forward. So is there, any failures you can think of in your life that are, kind of, I don't know, say game changers or life changing, but what you learned from that failure to whether it be personal, business, whatever, anything you can think of.
Yeah. I would say on the personal front, maybe going a little too deep here. I don't know who's all going to see this, and yet on the personal front, just being I just choose to be vulnerable with this kind of stuff. My first marriage was such a learning lesson, and the maturity that came from failing in that regard, and then the next few years of just figuring out what I wanted in life and who I was, and I think ask a lot of 35 and under year olds. Ask them like, hey, who are you? Like, what do you live
Mhm.
for? Like, what is your mission? What do you want to be known for? I don't know if there would be a large percentage that can answer that articulately and with a lot of confidence. And if there are, kudos. Awesome. That means you just put in the work earlier than I chose to. So I think that's one thing because now in my marriage, it's a completely different like framework. It's a completely different approach with energy, with understanding, with man, I did make that mistake. I'm sorry. Like that's one thing that had shamed me forever. And it's I didn't own mistakes in the past. And now my wife says that, she's frustrated with me on something or that I dropped the ball here or there. And I'm like, and instead of going defensive mode, I go, okay, here's an opportunity. Don't let your pride get in the way. And that has changed all of our conversations. On the work side, man, I think I'm still failing it forward every single week. So yeah, in my personal opinion, I don't think I've truly ever failed in business because failure to me is a strategy. And when you think of it that way, even if I drop the ball completely with a customer, I think a lot of people get to a point where they look behind them and they say, "Man, I could have done that, or I should have done that. I can't believe I've done that." Well, that's more shame than positive thinking. I choose to look at it and go, I'm so glad that I identified that I do that now versus 5 years from now. Now that I've identified it, how do I reframe and move forward? And it just gives you an opportunity to be positive with your growth versus demeaning yourself on growth you didn't even know you needed.
And the fact, I think I'm very similar. You talk about, I don't know if our when we say our first marriage, well, clearly when you say your first marriage, right, divorce happened. I had my first marriage also,
Mhm.
and it was a massive learning experience. And again, I talk about my marriage. It wasn't anyone's fault. My wife came to terms with who she is, and it happens. And I was supportive, but I still learned a lot about who I was
Yeah.
because of that marriage. Right, that instilled it. I'd always had a great work ethic, but that just lit a fire that said, I'm going to work as hard as I have to be as successful as I want to be on my own with or without somebody. So we can
Yeah.
definitely learn a lot. And there's a lot of people who don't learn from their first marriage.
I've got to tell you, I've dropped your name and your story in several states in my travels and in my coaching on Zoom, whatever it may be. Because if you don't give yourself enough credit for the story that you have shared with me and currently live, I'll be here to give you credit because, buddy, not a lot of people can shift and turn and still come out with a very positive environment and relationship like you have. So, buddy, if you haven't heard it lately, kudos to you. Very proud of you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. I
Yeah,
am
man.
grateful for that. No. So let's get into kind of some of the what do you think your superpower was? What made you you?
I think I think it's my ability to always connect with people, whether they are having the happiest day of their life, the saddest, or they are just so angry. No matter where people are, I've always had the ability to get them on the same page with me pretty fast. Between that and just having a work ethic of I just wake up wanting to grow. And if I'm not growing, I'm not. I will say I have a weakness, and that weakness is sitting still. I don't do well with that, right? And sometimes my wife wishes I had that super strength, but it's just the ability to connect with people and then choosing to say, hey, that's a God-given thing. What do I do with it? Right. So reaching out to coaches who have powerful questions and who have that skill set and saying, hey, how did you define that? How did you develop that? I should say, how did you lean into that more to take a natural charisma or connection or whatever you want to call it to a very purposeful and meaningful life-changing conversation for that individual? And
Mhm.
I'm a big component of it's who you are surrounding yourself with. And David Bernal is my coach, and he has helped me tremendously with understanding the framework of language and questions. And the
Mhm.
deeper you dive into that rabbit hole of knowledge, man, it gets a lot of fun. So it actually happened in October. I had been training with him and training with him, and then all of a sudden I had my moment. And we always talk about as agents, are you going to practice or are you going to perform in front of the client, right? And somebody
Mhm.
stood up and they had said something. I was like, this is what I've been training for. This is it. And then four questions. And then I didn't give any coaching or any like, do this. It was four questions. And he went from a very surface level answer to then going so deep that he surprised 90% of the room with what the story he shared was. And he was breaking down, tears were everywhere. And the tears are good because when you're that vulnerable in that arena, it raises everybody up in that room. So
Mhm.
here's how I think about it. David chose to learn that skill. He then chose to teach me, which then by default I used in a room, which changed somebody forever and had a ripple effect amongst 120 agents. So when I think growth, I think of me and David's spot prior to anything. Like, what am I learning today that is going to have a ripple effect 3 layers deep of people that I'll never even meet? It's kind of like
Mhm.
that old proverb: the most giving person in the world is the person who plants the tree that they'll never enjoy the shade from. And I
Yes.
think I look at growth that way. I'm not
Mhm.
looking to grow to make the next dollar. I'm looking to grow to instill the knowledge and skill set into my next generation so that they don't have to hunt for the dollar. They just understand how dollars work and they can live a life truly by design.
And that's the thing. Legacy is not necessarily just a financial legacy. It is,
Oh,
an
no.
emotional and a mental and a spiritual and knowledge based legacy. How do you help other people to grow and better themselves? That is absolutely a legacy.
That's it, man. That's it. And I'm really, really gunning to be known for that when my time has
Mhm.
come. But man, it's it's a singular focus that has so many off branches, and it reaches into so many different aspects of this business, plus just life in general. And it's served us well so far.
And that's fantastic. And so, talking about coaching and
Yeah.
accountability, because that's a big thing. I'm all about accountability. With your experience, where are you seeing agents fail when it comes to accountability and what they're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I think, man, I say you say the A word and people should people may shut down on you real quick, right?
Hmm.
So I think a lot of people are looking at accountability the incorrect way, just like they look at asking for help the incorrect way. Whenever somebody says, "Hey, I need help," all I hear is, "Hey, I refuse to give up, and yet I've hit my head against this ceiling, and I don't know what my next step is." Right? So when somebody says, "Hey, will you give me accountability?" what I'm hearing is, I have a goal that's so important that I am sharing it with you. And I also know that I may fall short of this if I don't have somebody pushing me to that goal. A lot of people look at accountability as, oh my gosh, he's going to call me at 5 a.m. and make sure I'm awake and blah, 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 blah. And then they check out. In those individuals, I think it's no judgment. I just don't think that I don't think they actually want the goal that they have defined. Because if you want something that bad enough, there's a no excuse kind of mentality that comes along with it. And any parent out there, the best analogy in the world is, if for the parents, and if you don't have kids, then think of your most precious loved one. If that person needed a surgery by the end of, for now we're about to step into February, right? So by the end of February, you had to get 10 listings for that person to get that surgery. No currency, just listings. There's no way that anybody listening here doesn't get 10 listings. And
Yeah.
yet, how often are we showing up and making every excuse under the sun to not do the activities to get that next piece of business, or to lose that 10 pounds, or to take the extra effort with your spouse, or whatever the goal is, right? Unless
Hmm.
you're in love with it, and like, this is my thing, like I'm going full throttle in this direction. I think people just throw out random goals, and instead of actually falling in love with one, because accountability for that one that's going to change your life, that's a teammate and a co-captain, not something that you dread.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think people, yeah, just do like you said, they just set a goal without any realistic meaning behind that goal, and they
Right.
end up not achieving it. Right? At the end of the year, I ask in my office, and one time I'm speaking, I said, "Hey, who here achieved their goal this year?" And the number of hands that go up, and I said, "Well, who wants to work harder next year?" And the number of hands that go up, that people, so many people don't want to put the effort in, and it's like you really have to have a reason that you want it, because you can kind of flounder along, and it all comes down to what we talk about, having accountability, having direction, knowing where you're starting, know where you're going.
Well, and to your credit right there, so the goals that you don't fall in love with are typically short window goals. Meaning, the next time you ask that question, I'll give you one to layer it with. Hey, how many people? You could even do this year. How many people have a goal for this year? All right, and then see how many hands up, and say, keep your hands high if you know your net worth goal in 5 years. Watch how many hands
Mhm.
go down. Then you get to coach them up and say, all right, so for everybody's hands that went down because you don't know your 5 year net worth goal, are you really in love with this first year goal? Or is it just a goal you threw out there because you thought you had to make a certain amount of money or sell a certain amount of houses? Because if it's not tied to something bigger, I don't know if you're actually in love with it. Because at the end of the
Mhm.
year, whether you hit it or not, how do you know if you're winning? How do you know if you got full of momentum and you're stepping into the next arena? Or, well, I sold 30 homes. What do I do now? Right? That's actually
Yeah.
demotivating than hitting the goal.
Mhm. Absolutely, because you could sell 30 homes, and if you're not growing, then you have to do the exact same thing the following year. You're not growing at all if you're just repeating the same year over and over and over again.
We say, do you want to have a 10-year career or 10 1 year careers? And I think a
Mhm.
lot of people that just do that 1 year goal on repeat, they're just waking up January 1 saying, what kind of realtor am I going to be this year? Versus,
Mhm.
okay, what do I implement in my business this year that's sustainable, scalable, and duplicatable?
And that's a big thing I've been focusing on in my business, is what's duplicatable and scalable, because I'm not necessarily duplicatable. I mean, I am, and to a sense, but the workload that I'm willing to take on, not everyone's willing to take on. So I said I have to be able to do things like set up the listing presentations, because I go to a listing presentation, I've got it, but it's a conversation for me. Like I haven't had to break it out, and I don't know how long, and I've gotten every single one of the listings. But it's because it's 7 years of conversations and
Correct.
studying the market and knowing
Yeah.
when I go into it, I'm ready to go, and I've built the relationships ahead of time. So,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I can't. That's not duplicatable, right? I have to.
Right.
Okay, here's the system. You go in with this, this listing presentation and go. So, all right. Did you have any, like, since you are not focusing as much on the buying and selling now, right? Like
Yeah.
as with the clients, or are you taking them out where you're up in
Oh
Connecticut now?
no. No, no, no,
Okay,
no.
yeah.
I'm not doing anything in the field currently.
Okay, so you don't do you have any kind of tips for buyers or sellers out there right now? Anything you can
Oh,
speak to
just
that, or
yeah, to the consumers themselves.
yeah, to the consumers themselves?
Yeah, man. So a couple facts to just to consider. One, in the history of mortgages, the interest rate has been below five or below six, I should say, below six, 12 total years out of the history of mortgages. So if you are find yourself saying, I'm going to wait till interest rates drop to 3 or 4%, it might be a while. And
Never.
by a while, I mean like maybe never, right? So that's one aspect. And another aspect of it is you never buy at the top of the market. You buy at the top of the moment. Go back 10 to 15 years in any market across any area of the country, and real estate has always gone up unless something crazy happened when the entire town went bankrupt or something. Okay. Yes, there are outliers. And yet, in the grand scheme of home ownership, it is always going up, right? So you
Mhm.
may buy in the top of the moment, meaning, oh, we bought and it kind of went down for a few years. But if you're there 8 to 10 to 12 years, you're always going to have profit. So, the
Mhm.
unfortunate thing is renting versus owning. Owners, when the sooner they buy, but owners, they're literally four times more wealthy when their day comes, right? And it's
Wow.
95%. I believe, is it 85 or 95? It's up there. Forgive me, but a massive portion of America's wealth is in real estate. So
Mhm.
get in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Any kind of final thoughts? Anything you want to touch on, chat about that? We can talk about growth for agents, for ourselves. Anything comes to mind.
Yeah, man. Well, you and me both know your business grows to the extent that you do. Okay. And if we have some of these hard, fast rules, like you're the average of the five people you surround yourself with, how your health is how your wealth is, like all these little nuances. Here's what I'd love. If everybody could put ego and pride and insecurities and limiting beliefs, like just shed those for just a minute and allow yourself the freedom to be wrong, the freedom to dream, the freedom to just pick what you want your life to look like. And when I say that, I'm literally saying, hey Tony, what if it's not Atlanta? Hey Tony, what if it's not real estate? What if it's not something that is so staple in your life right now and you just allowed yourself to dream? A true life by design. I'm curious, one, what you would come up with that kind of free thinking. Number two, I'm curious if you fall in love with it, right? And for some of us, it's to triple our business. Hell yeah, let's go. For others of us, it's to get out of the business and do something completely different because we have a passion for, nature and marine biology, and we want to save the oceans, or you want to go into any different arena of life, or you want to focus on your family and kids or whatever. I just invite you to take the time to realize what you truly want. And the quicker you do that, the more freeing it is. And then surround yourself with not only people that will pump you up, but also virtual people. Hear my heart. What podcasts are you listening to? What audibles? For instance, what YouTubes are you watching? Who's pouring into you through your ears, not just through handshakes? Because in a virtual world, video tells your brain that you just hung out with that person. So now I get to hang out with Tony, right? And I won't miss him as much now because we got this moment. And yet, who are you allowing to get here? And if anything is not serving you after you draft your dream of a life, switch. Like find those people, find your crowd, find your circle, and just pursue it relentlessly. You will never regret hard work ever. And because either you win the game or you become a different person on the way, and you'll never regret it. So just step into that arena and dominate.
Awesome. Hey, real quick, one more time, will you plug where if somebody watching this says, I want to send Marcus a referral, but you're not selling, but your team is selling, the two places they right, where they can
Yeah,
send it to.
man.
So we,
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have some contact info and anything. But
yeah,
guys,
yeah,
that I
I'm
mean,
gonna plug it into the
that's great.
below us. Yeah,
That's great. You can
yeah.
just shoot me a text. All right. The cell
Uh-huh.
phone's there. And if you don't have that, guys, you can find me on social media. It's Marcus Heflin. And we're out of Nashville. We're out of Connecticut now. And we'd be honored to help you. We'd be honored to connect, by the way. If it's not real estate related, you just want to download it. Would love to connect with anybody out there. So it's been a
Mhm.
pleasure, man. Thank you for
Yeah,
inviting me on here.
absolutely. I'm going to say, you said, if it's not real estate, right? I was let my mind go a bit. You would be pulling out of your house and you'd see me on a billboard starring in a movie with Dwayne Johnson. So, or an Avengers movie, whatever. I'm not.
There it is. There it is,
Yeah,
man.
that would
Yes.
be the dream, right? Like, and I went after that one. So,
You're gonna be in the next Marvel movie. That's what we're gonna get you in a leotard like Spider-Man.
I, here's the thing: I'm crushing it in the gym, but I am ripped. All right, I just ran a 6 minute mile. I'm pushing now for a 5 minute mile. I've never run that in my life. Now I'm setting that goal at 47 years old. So,
Well done, man. My truck
yeah,
can't run a
yeah.
5 minute mile, so you're good.
That's awesome. I appreciate it, man. You get to your family, and I'm going to send you like it's going to be one long video, all kind of edited down, and then it's going to be broken up to a bunch of clips. Use however you want.
Awesome, man. Thank you, brother. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
See you, bud.
All right, I'm going to have to say that was an amazing interview with Marcus Heflin. He is constantly looking to pour into personal growth, which is such a necessary trait to have in life, in this business, personally, professionally. If you're not growing as a person, you're obviously being stagnant and potentially regressing as a person. And the best thing about growth is we can do it our entire lives if we choose to. There's literally a portion of your brain that grows every time you do something that you don't want to do. So growth comes from stepping outside of your comfort zone. And I think one of the things he talked about that really kind of stuck. He's got, looking back on the grind and building his business, he has an appreciation for the good days and the bad days because you have to have both. You can't have the good days without the bad days. And the bad days and the days that you have to work hard make you appreciate the good days that much more. And when I asked him about a failure that he ever had, that he looked back and what he learned from that was from his first marriage. And after that, he grew as a person. But from that failure, he became a better person. He became a kind of person that could acknowledge mistakes and be okay with admitting a mistake and saying, how do we correct this mistake? And when you make mistakes, especially in life, but in this business, you need to own the mistake and then correct the mistake and move on. And I think another subject that we talked about, you need to be purposeful and meaningful, especially with who you surround yourself with. And we talked about accountability and getting help. Help is not a bad word. Help means you refuse to quit whatever it is you're doing, and you just don't know how to get to the point that you want to be at. So you have to ask for help and be okay with asking for help. Be okay with accountability. Don't look at accountability as a negative word because that means you want something so badly and that goal is so important to you that you don't know how to get there. So you are asking for the accountability to get you there, to make sure you achieve your goal for whatever reason that is, your big why, your personal goals. Make it important. Find that accountability because it's going to help you achieve the goals you want to achieve in life. And I'm going to have to close with the personal question we got into with Marcus, right? If he had a crystal ball, he could learn anything about himself, about the future. He would want to look into the future to see if his children were happy. How amazing is that? Like, I am a girl dad, right? I have my little girl. She's my sweet little princess, and she wants to be a good girl, and she is absolutely a good little person. And that just makes my heart smile. I'm not going to lie, because to think about, you could look at anything in the future, and he wants to know, are his children happy? And then he would say, if they weren't, what clues could he find to help correct that problem? That's just a beautiful statement from a man that truly loves his children. So thank you for sharing that, Marcus. I think that's just a really great moment there. So I appreciate your time, Marcus. I look forward to seeing you again in person. And hey, everyone out there, stay motivated. All right, I am Tony Toich with Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter, and that was a fantastic interview with Coach Marcus Heflin. I think I want to just say in closure, he talked about accountability and growth. And accountability is not a bad, it's not a bad word. It's not a bad thing. It's when you want to achieve a goal and you may fall short of that goal. You need accountability in your life. Because if you want to achieve this thing that you think you could fall short of, then somebody that's going to help you get there, that is truly putting in the work and that truly cares about you, is not going to let you fall short of that goal. So for the important goals in your life, consider accountability. Consider asking for help. It's okay to ask for help. People ask me for help every single day, and I'm there because I want to see other people rise up. I want to see other people get better at what they do. There's absolutely an intention of mine. And so, again, I'm incredibly appreciative and grateful of Marcus for sharing his time with us today. If there's anything I can do to help you here in Atlanta, Georgia, with a client, or just if you want to give me a call, jump on the phone, have a conversation about how I built my business, how I am trying to get better at what I do, how I am trying to grow every single day so that maybe it helps you grow and get better every single day for you. I'm happy to have that conversation. So please reach out anytime. Happy to have a conversation and get on the call. That being said, stay motivated. Hey, as always, my goal is to be a long-term resource for all the people in my community and my database. I'm not going to be there just when they want to buy or sell a home. I'm going to be there to help them take care of their home. I believe in Disney level service, creating raving fans, getting 1% better every single day. When that deal closes, I call every single one of my clients every 3 months to make sure nothing's going wrong with their home. I truly care about the people I take care of. So if you have someone I can help here in the Atlanta area, please give me a call, send me an email. I'd love to see what I can do to help.